for your round of applause. Can I see some more round of applause in the Slack room? I'm going to be using the Slack room a lot today to connect and engage you guys. So please give me a round of applause. Welcome me to the stage. Love to see everybody that's here. Thank you thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Karen. Thank you to the Chicago camps and Russ and everybody that put this together. It's a pleasure to see all the other presenters rolling through. What I love is that it's a lot of techie people here. And I'm not a techie person, but I do live in San Francisco and I work with a lot of UX designers and tech startup kind of people. So I totally know that world. And so we're here today. Let me bring my slides back. We're here today to talk about your communication, which is about how you translate all that expertise that you have into thought leadership and being confident in your ideas. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Lori. Oh my gosh, look at this little dog. Adorable. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to talk about your communication. Type a yes into the Slack room for me. Thank you, Samantha. Type a yes into the chat room in Slack if you get a little nervous when the spotlight turns to you. And if you're a presenter here today, maybe that's you too. You're already feeling the nervousness. Thank you, Alex and Lori, Brad, Lisa. Yeah, totally. Lots of yeses coming in. A little bit, Brad. Yeah. Karen, oh my God, totally. And put a pretty please into the Slack room. Thank you, Amy. Kinda. Yes. Okay. Put a pretty please into the chat box if you'd like to cultivate more confidence and comfort when you're in front of the camera. Pretty please. We've got Kevin giving us a full-on yes. Okay, lots of pretty pleases from Lori, Karen, Amy, Lisa. Yeah, okay, I hear you. That's what we're here to cultivate today. So I'm Julia Beecham-Kraft, your authentic expression mentor and public speaking coach. And I support professional women and some great men to find their authentic voice and shine in the spotlight, and ultimately to inspire others with their aliveness and their presence. Yeah. I founded Speak to Inspire programs about 7 years ago, and I've helped women to develop rock solid confidence and overcome nerves without scripts. I'm not about scripts. And without robotic public speaking skills, like a lot of public speaking trainings are. I created the Confidence on Stage program, which you'll hear a little bit about tonight or today, which has supported hundreds of women to learn foundational public speaking skills and unravel their authentic voice. That's what I'm all about, for those high stakes communication moments when the stakes are high. I used to facilitate as a corporate trainer a lot, hundreds of companies around the country like LinkedIn, Salesforce, Twitter, etc. And sure, I've had clients that are TED and TEDx speakers, but most of my clients are probably more like all of you. You're professionals and entrepreneurs who just want to be more comfortable and confident, whatever their spotlight is. And it's worth saying, despite I have a degree in acting, I'm an Italian. I talk with my hands, I can't help it. Despite all of that, I still have struggled with my own performance anxiety and nerves when I started speaking as myself, because talk about high stakes situations, when you speak as yourself and about the things that you're passionate about, what you've put your energy and expertise into, there's a lot at stake. I'm also a wife and a mother of these two cute kitties. Wanted to share that with you, a little bit more about me. All right, so let's dive in. You're in the right place for this talk. If you have important talks or meetings coming up and you want to bring your best, but you have a history of performance anxiety or nerves, yeah? But I want to say that you're also in the right place if you're not on stages or in leadership positions, but you know that you have something important to say and you want to free your voice, you feel that desire, yeah? So whatever your spotlight is, which is what we need to figure out now, so you have it in mind while you listen to the talk. What is your spotlight? It could be a stage, a webinar, a roundtable, a meeting, an interview, an important one-on-one, etc. Write into the Slack room for me, what is your spotlight? So I know the kind of situations and contexts that you guys are in, and I can adjust this to you. What are your spotlights? Love to hear what your spotlights are. Love all the creative things in the chat box here, the pictures and everything. Lindsay, facilitating workshops and leadership. Thank you, Lindsay. Got it. What else are your spotlights, guys? Where are you speaking? Yeah, Lori, client presentations and workshops, similar. Yeah, client presentations are more one-on-one, Lori, or is it a group? Alex, presenting research to executives. Yeah, there could be an intimidation factor there for sure. Group, Lori, got it. Todd, interviews and workshops, got it. Constantly educating stakeholders, yeah, Vicky. Routine meetings, got it, Lisa. Lots of high pressure sales pitches, gosh, those are intense. Yeah, Karen. Kevin, meetings and lots of big meetings, job interviews, and Lynette. Okay, thank you so much. Have this in mind, have your situations in mind while we work together today. Oh, I got to introduce you to some basic like vocabulary that we can understand how I work, right? That there's two parts of communication. There's verbal and nonverbal. That might be obvious, but these two things are trained differently. Verbal communication is all the words that you say, and nonverbal communication is everything other than the words that you say. So right into the Slack room for me, what are some examples of nonverbal communication? Everything other than your words. What's nonverbal communication? Yeah. Eye rolling. Yeah. Kevin, winking. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Gestures, facial expressions, perfect. Body position. Absolutely. Eye contact, big one. Yes. Pauses. Yes, exactly. Pacing with pauses, Lisa. Yes. Yawning. Hopefully you're not yawning in the middle of your presentation, Alex. Yeah. Everything from how you use your body to how you use your voice. Pacing, the tempo, the tone and pitch of your voice, gestures, etc. So everything in terms of nonverbal. And there's two different parts of confidence. There's outer confidence, which is how others perceive you, and there's inner confidence, which is how you perceive you. And a lot of times these two things are very out of congruence, like they're just different. You might feel like you did terribly on a presentation, but then you get feedback like, that was great. You seemed so confident. But you might have felt like you were dying on the inside. So ultimately we'd like those to be congruent, but a lot of times it's off. And that's why you do this kind of training that we're going to work on today. So what are we going to cover? We're going to talk about managing nerves, how your nervous system works and why you get nervous. We're going to talk about mastering nonverbal communication for influence and engagement. We're going to talk about taming technology, which is our modern world, how to relate to technology in a way that's empowering and use it to engage and entice your audience. Yeah, sound good? Let's dive in. All right, the managing nerves piece. Let's start with that. That's the foundation. And I want to normalize it right here from the beginning too, that speaking before a group is the number one fear when there's studies done. Maybe you've heard this. And look, it's significantly more than the other ones. And if you look a little deeper, what's like number 7 there? It's death. So I love that Jerry Seinfeld, what does he call it? A little stand-up thing that he does. He says, if this statistic is true, that means if we're all at a funeral, we'd rather be in the casket than up giving the eulogy. Now, I don't know if that's quite true, but look, public speaking is a common, very common fear. And it can be like something that really terrifies us. And why does it terrify us? Well, we need to talk about the nervous system to understand why you might not be feeling so confident from the inside out. I love this picture of this little dude, this little guy. He expresses it so perfectly what it might feel like for you on the inside, right? That it feels like this frozen state. The muscles get tight, the shoulders go up, the eyes get big, you're barely breathing, right? Even if you're putting on a good show and people don't even notice on the outside, maybe you feel like this on the inside. Give me a thumbs up or something in the chat box to let me know that you relate to this or this makes sense. Let me know in the chat box that you're following me with this. Oh, this poor little guy on the stage. Don't you want to just scoop him up and get him off of there? Okay, lots of thumbs up. Yeah, Lindsay, Lisa, Kevin, Lori, Alex, 100%, totally. Okay, so let's go a little deeper into your nervous system, understanding what's going on. This is a pretty deep topic. This is from polyvagal theory. It goes into like neuroscience. I teach a lot more about this in my programs. You can go to my website and get the When You're Nervous program and learn more about this. But like really simple right now, there's 3 different levels of your autonomic nervous system, which is the part of your nervous system that is engaged with the world. So the top level, they call it safe, social, and engaged, or colloquially, we think of it as the stay and play mode where, yeah, there's things happening and there's people to talk to, there's stuff to do, but I don't feel like there's a threat out there. So I can stay engaged, I can stay and play with it. Then the next level down is mobilized, agitated, and frantic, which colloquially we would call fight or flight. I'm sure you've heard of that. This is when you start to perceive a threat out there to your well-being and survival. Now, that might not be a logical threat. It's a perceived threat. Because is your survival ever really at stake with speaking? No, right? But our mind, goes crazy with all these spinning thoughts. And so it creates this perceived threat. So you might want to fight back, which fighting back in terms of speaking means getting dominance. You'll see people lean on the table and they get louder. That's someone asserting dominance over the situation in order to manage their own stress. But most people are too polite, too nice to do that. And so they skip over fight and go right to flight. And in the flight pattern, your legs are really mobilized and you'll feel like a shaky fidgetiness in your legs, which is really common with speaking. And you'll start to do things that subtly allow you to get away, even though, of course, when we're speaking, we can't actually get away, especially when the camera's on, right? Like you can't really get away. I have one client who just closed down the camera once because she was too freaked out. But like eventually you're going to have to answer for it, right? So we can't actually run away. So one thing that you might do if you're in flight mode is you might lean on one side. You might sort of like cross your arms or like lean onto your hands. You might have your computer, something like this. There's my microphone. And so that you're sort of out of it or out of the frame, and your voice might start to drop, like it's really soft and it just sort of trails off. Like all of this is a version of fleeing the situation subtly. But the reality is we can never fully run away, right? So what can we do? Well, that's the next state, numb, collapse, and shut down, which colloquially is called the freeze state. Mammals go into this all the time as a last resort. They act as if they're dead in order to survive the situation and get through it. Now think of yourself with an important high stakes communication moment. Do you often just like bunker down and try to get through it? And then afterwards, sigh of relief, thank goodness that's over. Now I can relax. If you relate to that experience, then you've been in some level of a freeze state during your presentation. And the freeze state is the most uncomfortable, the most stressful, and to be honest, the hardest one to get out of. We want to catch your nervous system, the stress that's starting to build up before we get to the freeze state. Like I said, I can't go too deep into this today, but just so you understand enough, because what we need to work on here, I'm going to bring myself off of the slideshow for a second, is some practices to regulate your nervous system. Let's do some together. Just like Colleen was in the last talk, is a perfect segue into what I'm teaching here. Some mindful breathing, and I'm going to teach you some specific ways that you can manage your nervous system through your breathing. So do this with me. Sit up a little taller, rest your arms down somewhere, take a deep breath, and either close your eyes or turn them downwards. This is the kind of speaker's warm-up that you need to prepare your nervous system, prepare your mind and your emotions and your energy for a successful, confident communication moment. All right, so we're focusing on our breath. Follow my count as I guide you through some breathing. Exhale to start, all the breath out. Inhale through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then exhale out the mouth for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. And out the mouth for 4, 3, 2, 1. Last breath, inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And out the mouth for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, just 3 breaths there. Notice what's different after slowing down to breathe. And write that into the Slack room for me. What's different after just 3 deep breaths? Curious, what's different? I see people typing. Calmer, Lori, awesome. I know it was a short practice, but it can make a difference, right? 3 deep breaths can fix a lot of things. Shoulders have dislodged themselves from my ears. Thank you, Karen. That's awesome. Samantha's feeling more grounded. Good. Fantastic. Okay, this is the beginning of working on nervous system regulation. I don't want to leave you with just that because it's just a beginning, right? So I'm going to put something into that Slack room now as a next step. If you want to do more of this nervous system regulation work, more calming practices, there's a mini course called the Performance Anxiety Toolkit that I created. My gift to you. All right, let's keep rolling along here. The next piece is around nonverbal communication. I love this statistic. It comes from a study that's called the Dr. Fox study. And what they did is they brought in this big audience and two different speakers. The first speaker is a doctor that has PhDs and years of experience, known as in his field for what he does. And then our second speaker is an actor that they hired to read a few articles of the real doctor before the presentation and give a presentation on what he knew. Of course, the actor had less knowledge, right? Less depth of knowledge. But what do you think was different between their nonverbal communication? Well, our doctor stood behind a podium, had a script, had a pretty monotone voice. Our actor, on the other hand, moved around the stage, met the eye contact with the audience, had lots of energy and dynamics in their voice. And afterwards, the audience was asked, well, who do you like more? Who did you trust more? Who do you think was more knowledgeable? And what was it about the speaker that led you to that conclusion? And this is what came of it. 93% of what they were responding to was nonverbal communication. 93%. That's a lot. So nonverbal communication, 55%. What they mean by that is anything the audience could see in the speaker's body language. And then 38% tone, which is what they could hear in the speaker's voice. And then just 7% the words, 7%. Wow. So how many of you spend 93% of your time before an important communication or presentation preparing your nonverbal communication, right? No, we don't usually do that. We take 93% of our time or more to prepare our content and our PowerPoint, right? So this is a paradigm shift here of what really matters, that your nonverbal communication is more impactful, even online, actually even more so online, I find, than the words that you say. Let's go a little deeper with this. Your voice speaks louder than your body. The reason I'm saying that, and that I say sometimes, is because when it comes to virtual communication, often the audience is distracted. They have multiple windows open. They have text messages. They have family around, they can just look away and go get a snack or something. They're distracted. And so they're often listening to you more than they're watching you. And just add into that you're a little box up in the corner, sort of like I am right now, versus the PowerPoint being big. The visual of you is not going to be as impactful as the voice. So if we go back to this is for in-person communication, in-person presentations. These days with virtual, I would say that the tone is 55% or more, and the nonverbal communication is much less, but it's still primarily nonverbals that are impacting an audience. Let's talk about two ways you might be using your voice that diminishes your credibility and others perceiving you as confident. And those two ways are uplilting, or what's sometimes called upspeak, and fillers. Yeah, so we'll start with the upspeak, uplilting. Uplilting is that every sentence sounds like a question, that my tone, my pitch goes up at the end, and I sound like I'm not sure, or that I need your permission. Am I doing okay? Right into the chat box for me. Have you ever caught yourself up speaking and noticed it? Have you ever been called out on it? And here in my voice, what does it sound like? What impression does it give you when I have up speak? Yeah. And then what's the difference when I use what's called down gliding? When I go down at the end of the sentence, down at the end of the sentence. And let's experience this together. It'll be like this with just some sounds. Da, 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 da is upspeak. Try it. Da, 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 da. And this is down gliding. Da, 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 da. Yeah, try it. Da, 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 da. Goes down at the end. And there were some people typing there. I'd love to hear what you were saying about upspeak and what you notice in yourself. Please send that through. Do you feel the difference? So let's say a sentence now, really simple sentence with both of those variations. The sentence is going to be, I have something to say. Simple sentence. But now do it with upspeak and with down gliding. I have something to say. Like, do you? Do you have something to say? I have something to say. Ooh, you have something to say. I want to hear it. Yeah, Lindsay. I haven't noticed myself doing upspeak, but I do notice that I usually use vocal fry. Yeah, that's related to breathing, by the way, Lindsay, that if you don't have enough supported breath, that your voice will drop down into your throat. Yeah, so that's about breath energy. Oh, I got stuck there. Going into fillers, or what I also like to call softeners, you can write into the chat box here of what are some examples of your favorite fillers and softeners. And obviously, maybe, sort of, perhaps, basically. So is a great one, Kevin. Yeah. Like if you overuse it. Yep, got it, Todd. Yeah, fillers and softeners diminish the credibility of your speaking. And yet I'm not the kind of speaker coach that's going to slap you on the wrist every time you do a filler like they might do at Toastmasters, right? That's not the kind of speaking coach I am. What I encourage you to do is replace fillers with pauses. Replace fillers and softeners with pauses to give yourself time to clarify your next thought instead of racing through, or to find the inner confidence to stand firm and be direct with your thought. Let's go back to that same sentence. I have something to say with fillers now. I, like sort of maybe, I have, is it okay if I say something? Making something into a question also is a version of softening it. Now let's say that without any fillers or softeners and with down gliding. I have something to say. Yeah, powerful, powerful. Got it. Okay, so going to the next piece, which is about body language. We did the voice, now we're gonna talk about the body. How can you be the most interesting thing in their room? Well, first of all, you need to have higher energy than your audience. I recommend just 5 to 10% higher energy. And if you notice right now, I'm a little higher energy. I'm higher energy than my everyday self, like my husband and I having breakfast. I'm higher energy than that. And I'm higher energy probably than you sitting and watching. So you just want to raise your energy up a little bit to become the most interesting thing in their room, especially with virtual speaking, because your audience is really distracted. So one way you can do that is through amping up your physical presence. Let's do this together. If you come forward and sit on the edge of your chair or whatever you're on, lift your spine up. Oh, thank you, Amy. That's funny. That's really funny. Okay, and we're going to take our arms up overhead, really high up. Yeah, with the arms spread out wide, the fingers spread out wide. Yeah, and lift your chest a little higher. Lift your chin. Yes. Okay, take a deep breath here. I'm going to add in now some power phrases. This is my version of power poses. Power poses is from Amy Cuddy. She's amazing. Check out her TED Talk. But then my addition to it is the power phrases, where you're going to use your whole voice in an attitude of certainty. So just repeat after me and see how it feels. I am confident. I believe in myself. What I have to say has value. When I speak, others listen, and the world needs my voice. Yeah? Yes. Okay, so notice how you feel and what's different after being in that big open position and also saying those powerful phrases. Give me a sense of how that impacted you in the Slack room. What was different? Like, ta-da, Amy says. Oh, cool. Yeah, kudos to our speakers bringing the energy without seeing their audience. Totally, that's harder. I love having this chat room. Thanks for engaging with me there. It makes me feel like we're in this together. Okay, so how was that for you to do the power pose, power phrases? We're going to keep rolling, but I'd love to hear how that was for you. We're going to go into that taming technology section where this gets more technical, like more practical. These are some tech best practices for virtual speaking. Number one is similar to what we just did. Sit up to be seen. Thank you, Lindsay. It feels silly, but definitely effective. I know it's cheesy, but it works totally. LOL, did you take a picture on my desk of my desk? Yeah. I think this picture is a great example of a setup for virtual speaking. So, okay, step one, you're going to sit up to be seen. You're going to have that lifted spine. And then that's going to make you have to adjust your camera setup, that your camera is at eye level, not lower or higher, that it's right at eye level, which will support your eye contact. I'll talk more about that in a second. And lighting is really important. I think we all know this at this point, but then I still have people that I get onto Zoom with or see as speakers that are dark. Their faces are dark. Make sure you have light in your face. Background, I see this all the time, whether it's a virtual background or a real background, make sure it amplifies you, like it makes the audience focus on you, not on the stuff behind you. With virtual backgrounds, this is a big deal. I'm going to put something into the Slack room right now that's a bunch of links of the things that I use to make my virtual studio. Yeah. And one of those things is a green screen, because if you want to use virtual backgrounds, which I do often, a green screen it's sort of like, you need it in order to not disappear into the virtual background. And they're really not expensive. Audio, you must enhance your audio in some way. You can use these little earbuds, or even just the regular ones with the cords, doesn't matter. Enhance your audio, because remember, that's the most impactful part of your nonverbal communication. And eye contact, I get this question all the time. There's actually a blog on my website all about eye contact for virtual. So if you want to go deeper, it's on the site. But my general thing is look up towards the top third of your screen. You don't have to stare down the camera, but be in the top third of the screen, yeah? So that they have the sense that you're looking towards them. And really, I know that you have to look at the chat box sometimes, you have to look at some notes sometimes. As long as you stay present forward instead of zoning out in other directions, it's good, yeah? It works. And see, Kevin says, before I got a desk light, it looked like I was underground bunker. Totally, there's a lot of people like that. Let's look at this guy's setup a little bit closer. He's got his earbuds in, he's got a nice outfit on that brings out his credibility. He's got a bright light on his face, that ring light. And I have a ring light in those links that I gave you just now. He has his camera at eye level. He has a teleprompter, not necessary, but the teleprompter is behind the camera so that his eye contact can be right at the camera. He can maintain that. He's got his notes there ready to go. He's got the blinds closed so that there's consistent lighting. Lots of good things going on here. To go a little deeper into this, your audience still won't be paying attention, even if you have high energy and great nonverbals, unless you specifically engage them when it comes to virtual stuff. And so my suggestion is that you have some sort of audience engagement at least once every 5 minutes to actively engage your audience, to require their engagement with you, or else they're just going to be doing their own thing and floating off. I'll come back to that in just a minute, Lindsay. So your audience won't be paying attention unless you do some of these things. Audience engagement techniques could include asking questions. That's the basics, right? Even questions that your audience is not going to reply to right away. Something like this, a hypothetical question. The best way to engage your audience is to ask questions, right? Don't you know? Don't you think? You've been there before, right? Anything that's just a little question on the end is a version of hypothetical, like, I don't need a response right now, but it's an engagement technique. To go a little further with that is body polling. Now, body polling, if you have everybody's video on, I can say, give me a thumbs up if, or show me your fingers, show me all 10 of your fingers if, or raise your hand if, give me a finger 1 to 10 if, whatever. But this can also translate into a chat box. Give me a number 1 to 10 if you this, and people will write it in the chat box. Give me a thumbs up emoji. Zoom has reactions. Any kind of polling like that happens in the moment is so effective, and it won't interrupt the flow of your presentation. Virtual techniques, what I mean by that is, gosh, it's a huge range of things. And I'm going to put 2 different things into the chat box now about that. Oh, great setup. Who's this at? Amy's. Cool. Looks good. Looks calm. Yeah. So virtual techniques, I just put 2 different articles in the chat that are about different virtual like games and things you can do. Like with Zoom, there's the whiteboard that everybody can write on. You can do breakout rooms and have sharing, etc. Any way that you can use technology to keep people engaged is what we're up to here. You've got to do something. Don't just expect that they're engaged. Make it a conversation. And thank you, whoever said that. I was modeling that really well. That's great. Thank you, Samantha. Okay, so we talked about a lot, and this half an hour zooms by, right? A half an hour is not that very long. But let's go over it, make sure you got it all. We talked about managing nerves and how that you must learn how to regulate your own nervous system for that anxiety relief and maybe panic relief, that you know how to regulate that so that you can have the inner confidence to then project outer confidence. Yeah. You need to master your nonverbal communication, which is a whole thing to train yourself in. But the process is learning to use your body and your voice so that it's congruent with your message, right? So they're working together. And then we talked about taming technology, engaging your audience on purpose, like I said, at least once every 5 minutes, and coming across as a leader virtually because you use technology in a way that highlights you, that makes you look good, right? And it's not as hard as people think. It just takes a little bit of preparation. So my question here to you towards the end of our time together is, where do you need to grow? Out of these things that we just talked about and worked on, reflect where are the areas that you need to implement right away. Can you do some deep breathing before the next presentation? Can you be more aware of your up-lilting or your fillers in the next presentation? Can you adjust your text setup? What is the most important for you? And then what if I could help you with those things? Because really this is an intro to something that is a very personalized journey of building confidence. That doesn't happen in half an hour, right? Confidence takes time. So if it's all right with you, I'm going to invite you to the Confidence on Stage program. And you can feel out if it's a fit for you. I'll go through this real quick. It's the Confidence on Stage program supports smart professionals like all of you to relax into their authentic presence, to express through your body and your voice fully so that your nonverbals are working for you, and empowers you to use your message for engagement and connection. Yeah. Briefly, I'm going to go through what it includes. One-on-one coaching, you get guidance to transform anxiety into confidence, expert feedback and laser coaching, so you don't have to use robotic public speaking skills, and of course, accountability to accomplish your goals around visibility, which I think is impossible to do on your own because it's about being visible. Yeah. It includes a virtual course, which has 6 modules. Here's just an example of 3 of them, going from regulating your nervous system and learning to improvise. Really important technique. Building a speaker's warm-up routine so that you know you can always be at your best. And then really cultivating your charisma and your energy, and then builds from there. And the last piece of the program is the speaker showcases that happen once a month. These are group calls where you get to practice in front of a live group, get feedback from people that know what they're looking for, and get to lean back into a safe and supportive space where you can build a new positive muscle memory of confidence. If you'd like to find out more and join, just schedule that complimentary consult with me. It's my gift to this group. Just go to chatwithjulia.com. In fact, just grab that link and put it in a browser somewhere right now, because I know you're going to see a lot of talks today and it might get lost. So just grab chatwithjulia.com, put it in a browser. There'll be a short questionnaire there, and then I'm happy to talk to you. I have I think 9 or 10 calls open this week for this group, so it'd be great to chat with you. And a special bonus for the Chicago camps is if you register by April 16th, I'm just throwing in my mini course bundle that has that When You're Nervous talk, and what's the other one? Impromptu speaking, and more about virtual speaking. Yeah, so I'm going to throw in that bundle for you should you choose to join. All right, thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to hear everybody's questions.